Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time of the day that you are accessing this video. I am Allison Muhammad, aka Sacred, the Cosmic Midwife, and today I am going to do a video on sacred relationships and the different types of sacred relationships. So, a little bit about me for anyone who would have access to this video who would not know me, um, as it relates to sacred relationships and the womb care program that I run. So, I'm going to tie the two in together. I am the owner of Sacred Love Academy, and I am the facilitator of Sacred Love Womb Detox Program. And so I was asked by some of my clients and some of the women in the program as we talk about womb detox and just the different energies that can be present in the womb space. You can't talk about detox in the womb and not talk about relationships. So for us as women, this is one of the main things, the main types of energies that get caught in our energy space. So I am going to make it through this video. As you all can tell, I got some type of, I don't know, sinus something happening, but we are going to get started anyway. So again, welcome as I talk a little bit about sacred relationships. And same thing for this information that I always say, you have the right to believe whatever it is that you want to believe. Some things may resonate with you, some things may not resonate with you. And if they don't, throw that part away. So, because I will talk about some things that will really challenge your belief system and how we've been told to be as it relates to relationships, and different things as far as the spiritual being in itself, in its ability to do different things or not do different things, and be in certain places and not be able to be in certain places. So, again, you can choose to believe or not believe. I'm going to share with you uh, some of my experience in the many clients that I've worked with. So here we go. So the different types that we'll talk about today is karmic relationships, um, soulmates, twin flames, and then I believe I'll end it off with cosmic relationships. So the first one, how do you know what type of relationship that you're in? So I really deal with this as far as womb care. Once when we're doing healing and then we're doing clearing, but I really stress knowing the types of relationships you are in, the types of relationships that you desire as we move into preventive care. So, as we go over a process of healing, how do you maintain that? How do you move forward if you're not in a relationship? You know, you don't go blindly into the next relationship, not knowing what to expect and where you are as a spiritual being on your journey. So, let's talk a little bit about karmic relationships. Karmic relationships can be good or bad. A lot of times when we say karmic, people automatically think that it's the negative thing. Um, Karmic relationships, they come in to return back whatever was given at a certain period of time. So let's look at a good karmic relationship in some point in time, whether it was another lifetime, whether you believe the spirit has many lifetimes or not. If you don't believe that, you can look at um, an earlier time. In this lifetime, you had a relationship and you were really good to this person. You were kind, you were compassionate, and for whatever reason, that relationship ended. Later on, you would get back the kind. So you may be in another relationship and that comes back to you. So karma is just what you give out comes back to you. We more so see this though from one lifetime to another. If you were really good and mature as far as relationships go, you'll get a chance to experience that in another way. So bad karmic relationships is just the opposite. You did some things that show that you were not quite mature enough to be with someone, and you did things that were not kind and that were challenging. Then you tend to get that back. The interesting thing about karmic relationships is they usually start off as something good. They usually start off, you have kind of like this inclination to this person, um, regardless of all the red flags that you see. You tend to want to be with this particular person. And of course, if there was a lesson to learn, if you knew the lesson up front, then maybe you would decide not to be in that relationship. But it was written, or you have a contract, if you will, that you would be in this relationship and you would pay back this particular debt. You would learn whatever lesson that needed to be learned. So that's one thing to know about karmic relationships. And usually uh, they don't last a lifetime. Uh, for most of us, we just don't know when we've learned a lesson or we don't learn a lesson. And we know that it's time for us to move forward. Or we don't know that it's time for us to move forward. So let me adjust this light really quick. I don't think that altered it at all. But hopefully you all can see me okay. And there's not a big problem with the light. So karmic relationships. The other thing about karmic relationships is you attract a mate wherever you are in your chakra system. So I'm not going to go in detail about chakras, but the first main seven that we have, a person tends to spend the majority of their time in one of those chakra systems. So, for example, let's say the first three, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. So, in most of humanity, unfortunately, lives as, and I'm speaking as a spiritual being, not so much consciousness or mental ability, but you as a spiritual being. Most of humanity tends to live within these three chakras, which are, of course, as you know, the lower chakras that deal with stability, survival, and very much into not higher principles, but that thing of survival in need, sexuality, and not that sexuality is bad, but it can be perverted. It can be up or down. It cannot be balanced. So when a person lives here as a spiritual being, then you tend to attract relationships that are in that lower vibration. And usually those can only come through whether they are karmic. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, maybe in another video, that the higher you get as a spiritual being, you tend to drop your contracts. They become null and void. So, but we'll go over that a little bit later. I just want to make sure, but the basis of that karmic relationships is just that. It's a lower frequency. It's lessons that you as a spiritual being chose to learn and chose to move forward in life by learning those types of lessons. So that's it, karmic relationships. A little bit about soul ties. Soul ties are interesting to me. Um, they can be karmic, but most of the times they are just us as spiritual beings. We have a particular, we're familiar with one another. We tend to, when our cycle comes around, and we're in and out of this reality as it relates to lifetimes or whatever your solar rotation is, we tend to stay together. We tend to stay in this spiritual brotherhood, if you will. And we'll play different parts with each other, and that can be it can be a romantic relationship. It can be a mother to child relationships. It can be friends, business partnerships. But soul ties usually, it's usually us just coming back together again and again, and we're very familiar with each other. I always say a game that we all agree to play with one another. So I want to make sure there's something that I wanted to say uh, about soul ties, pardon me, or soulmate, everybody, um, and how it relates to your womb space. So with that, the biggest thing that I found in doing womb care that can really challenge the womb is disappointment. So, as women, if we choose to open ourselves up for someone energetically, to really, and it doesn't have to be sexually, I'm talking just energetically, relationships. We want to have this bond with someone, and that love is not reciprocated. So then we go into disappointment, and judgment, and anxiety about not being able to receive this love. And this gets caught in our womb space. So it becomes a challenge when you are familiar with a particular soul, and that soul is not quite awake as you are. So, what do you do with that particular energy so it's not caught in the womb space? You know, it allows you to be free. It allows you to still be vulnerable in relationships. Don't feel that you have to be guarded because this particular relationship was not given um, back to you. And this also goes with twin flames as well, because twin flames, soulmates and twin flames tend to bring about the biggest challenge as it relates to the womb space. So it's all about how you handle it. I've had both. I've had all types of relationships, karmic, soul ties, um, twin flames, and what I'll mention a little bit later is cosmic relationships. So it's about a person, in my experience, it has been about a person being willing to expand themselves and to be bigger than the title in the labels of relationships. But for now, we'll just say briefly and on a very basic level, that is what they call um, soulmates or soul relationships. Another thing I want to say about that as well, so I brought up that's what they call. I want us to really, because there's so much stuff on the internet, you can look up anything. Like I said in the beginning, you don't even have to believe what I am saying. I'm only giving you my experience. I'm only giving you what I have known and studied with the clients that I've worked with, and that's the only thing that I can do. I've researched a lot of materials, and depending on who you ask, really, will tell you what soulmate, twin flames, the different karmic relationships, in contrast. So I said that to say I really don't want you to pay attention to the words, the definition that I'm giving. I want you to try your best to tap into the frequency and the energy of what I'm saying. That way, when you come into contact with this energy, with this frequency, then you'll know exactly what it is that you're dealing with, and it doesn't have to be it's called this or it's called that. So I hope that makes sense to you. So twin flames, and I'm going to go into different ways to handle this after I talk about twin flames. So twin flame energy, most people say that it was one soul that was divided, and one is male, one is female, and they go about their life coming into this realm of this reality, and their whole mission is to come back together. I don't know if that's true or not. I can only relate to the frequency and the energy of a twin flame, what they call a twin flame. So this particular energy is normally very intense. So it really feels like a gravitational pull. If you can imagine, it always takes me back to the universe itself. There's different elements within the universe. There are some planets, moons, stars, suns that rotate around another celestial being. So, and they can't get out of that gravitational pull of that particular celestial being. That's what it reminds me of. Um, and it's unexplainable. It seems like the person seems like home, like someone you never met before, but you come in their presence, and there's something about them that feels very right to you. It feels like you all belong together. And even if you mentally try to wrap your mind around it and try to figure out, I don't even know this person, why do I feel that way toward them? Um, Twin flames, that energy, that pull, if you will, it really transcends time and space. So the challenge is, which I get so many questions about this when I do readings for twin flames, is what if I or my twin flame is in a relationship with another person? So how I'm going to address that is through womb health and womb care. There are so many different ways that can be addressed, and I really won't get into that, or as it relates to going for your twin flame or not going for your twin flame. So twin flames, you have to make a decision as a spiritual being to be able to stay in soul power. So what I mean by soul power, there is physical power, mental power, and then there's soul power, there's spiritual power. So one of the elements of a twin flame is you can communicate with you because it's supposedly your other self. So you are never separated from yourself, ever. It's only an illusion that you are separated. Now, truth be told, really, it's just an illusion that any of us are separated. We all are connected, but as it relates to twin flame, are you spiritually mature enough to handle a twin flame relationship, which transcends time and space? Are you, as it relates to your twin flame, being with already having a significant other? And how do you handle that and keep your womb space clear of disappointment and fear and anxiety of not being with this other person? And that has been one of the main ways that I have been able to help clients. And that's really tapping into yourself and tapping into the other part that the other twin tends to have. I hope that makes sense. So there's your body over here, and then their body over there. If it was once together, this other part over here supposedly has a part of you. So, but not the physical body. That's what we have to understand. It's the energy and the frequency that is supposed to be a match. So tapping into yourself is what gains you access to the other part of yourself. And it never, ever has to be a physical union. As we evolve and we go higher as a spiritual being, which it will take us into, I'm going to talk about cosmic relationships, but it feels a lot like cosmic relationships because you go higher in your, higher in evolution, and the way you communicate in your relationships becomes on a higher vibration. And when you do it that way, nobody else is offended, because you may be mature enough to handle a twin flame relationship or even a soulmate or a cosmic relationship. The person who you feel inclined to may not be spiritually mature enough to handle that type of relationship. They are still on the level of a karmic relationship, which is in the first three chakras, the first, second, and third. So you have to be willing or not. It really, at the end of the day, is just a choice. But as it relates to womb care and as it relates to your spiritual health and detoxing the womb, having it the highest frequency and vibration, that is the advice that I give to my clients on how do you move forward in your journey? How do you move forward in releasing anything in the womb that is not serving a greater purpose? So whether it's the womb or your heart space, which is another womb, if it's not serving the highest vibration, frequency, and purpose in your life, because sometimes we're confused. We think something or someone is a twin flame, excuse me, and really it's just a memory from another person, that from another life whom we truly adored in that particular relationship. And of course, obviously, we crave that affection and love from this person because we know them. And that is also fine if the other person is in agreement in receiving and giving back that love, that admiration out of honor and respect, that it is from a relationship that is past, which doesn't have to have anything to do with your relationships in the present. So I hope that makes sense. I really tried to break that down as far as how we deal with one another physically, mentally, and on the highest level, spiritually. And in my experience has been the best level spiritually, because there's no boundaries as it relates to that type of energy with time and space. You could actually communicate with anybody that you wanted to, regardless of gender, status, um, if they had a label of husband, wife, child, daughter. It just transcends everything, but is very respectful, honorable, and it does not offend anyone else, no other spiritual being in their status. So that's a good way to judge what it is that you're doing. And when I say judge, I don't mean right or wrong. I mean judge as just a reference point of what it is that you're doing in your relationships in the respect and honor of others. So the next and the last one that I'll talk about is cosmic relationships. So cosmic relationships, I always say, is a little blazing. And I say blazing, maybe blazing isn't the right notion or word to use, but cosmic relationships are more of primordial energy. It comes from a place of before there was labels and terms and even words. It comes from that type of place. So when cosmic relationships happen and there's a communication, it usually comes all the way back from like star systems. There are no words, they're just vibrations, frequency, and energy. So when we interact with one another, it really does not give uh, value, for lack of a better word. It really does not give value to the labels in this reality as far as communication. A lot like Twin Flames, but Twin Flames still has um, some of this reality in it. Twin Flames still have ego and different things that have to be transcended in order to come together and to move up on a vibrational frequency. When cosmic relationships, there is no explanation, there is no, because there's no titles. It just is, which is the highest form of relationships. And very few people are in contact with their cosmic relationships. As the planet, in my opinion, continues to raise the frequency and vibration, then we have more beings that may not have either originated from this planet or did originate from this planet, but have a lot of experience of moving around and going in different places. So a lot of us know each other from other places. Let's just say that. And there are places that don't have titles again of who belongs to who and what does it doesn't give consideration for that. But I don't want to be misunderstood when I say it doesn't give consideration to uh, titles. So, for example, if I had a cosmic relationship, which I have several, and I felt that my communication to someone that was married, when that communication invades upon something that is put in place, that it begins to offend or affect another spiritual being on the journey, then it has to be reevaluated in the way that is done. So I hope that makes sense, because I don't want to throw anybody off. If you have not experienced cosmic relationships, you really won't get that what it is that I'm saying. Now, how I will wrap this up is as it relates to relationships, karmic, soul, twin, and cosmic. There's another dynamic in this particular realm that we live in as it relates to relationships and how do we interact with people. So when a person tends to have a sacred mission, when a person has a sacred mission, and the higher the mission, it seems to have more open to them because of what it is that they have to do. They have an opening, if you will, as it relates to communication. Almost like cosmic relationships, they're able to transcend space and time and to communicate with anyone. But the love of it, because it's coming from the source, is so open, and usually source does not give that to someone who would be able to who would misuse it. It's a very trusting energy. It's a very serving energy. So you don't go into this thing of, I won't go and communicate with this person or serve this person because they belong to this person. It doesn't consider any of that. One, because it's coming from the source and it is serving a bigger and a higher purpose. I hope that makes sense to you. And so, one thing I always tell us that helps us as women in our sacred space is when you can grasp that nobody belongs to anybody, really, truthfully. And the fact that we may have contracts. We have contracts that say we would do particular things, like when we take on a life partner. When you take on a life partner, the agreement may be, I am taking on this partner and I would like to walk this journey with this partner, knowing that this partner does not belong to me. And so I hope that makes sense. Please give me feedback. Let me know, because you all asked for this video. Let me know if there's something more that you want to discuss, if you want me to go a little deeper into either one of them, soulmates, twin flames. I got a lot of requests for twin flames and cosmic relationships. So that is it for now. Check out the site, the website, AlisonMuhammad.com. You'll find more information about the Sacred Love Womb Detox Program. There are many things. This video actually will be inside of the program as one of the courses. So check it out. I hope this video was beneficial. All right. Talk to you soon. Peace, everyone.